Hi, Nick here with Infinite Loop Technical Solutions, and today I'm just going to be doing a quick overview of a hardwire install of the Thinkware F800 Pro into a 2015 Ford F-150 Lariat edition. I did this myself. It's been a bit of a headache. I live up here in Canada, and finding all the right parts has been the most headache with everything. Everything I was able to find, I found on Amazon, not at any local stores. So just gonna quickly go through this. So here you have the two wires. The bottom one is your power source. The upper one is a micro USB connection that runs to the rear facing camera for the back. For the wiring of it, what I've done is I've ran it up along the right side. I have all the sensors and stuff in the windshield, so my windshield's a bit different than if you have the XLT or if you don't have the tech packages with the front facing collision and auto sensing wipers, all that stuff. That's all housed in here. So I have to put it down a bit lower. If you don't have that, you'd probably be able to put it up a bit higher. The position of it's actually pretty good though, no complaints. So anyways, that wire runs up the right side, it then crosses over here. I then have it tucked all the way up around the roof liner here, and then it tucks in around the pillar right here, and I have it running through the rubber of the window here. You can then see the wire is then pushed into around this pillar where your seatbelt is, and then again around the rubber here all the way around, and then you have that back black pillar where I have it pushed into, and then up into the headliner again where it's then attached. I put one little clip that comes with the Thinkware camera to hold the wire up in place. You can kind of see that little black piece right before the wire curls down to the window there. Just all hold it up, and that has worked really nicely, really clean. I didn't have to worry about trying to run it through the floor and up. Just run it through all of your upper rubber seals and around the top of your pillars right here, and you should be good to go. For the power source, I have somewhat of the same situation going on. The power cord right here runs up into the headliner, runs all the way across, and then I have it coming down by the window here and down through the window seal all the way down, and then into the fuse compartment in the passenger side here. Sorry that my truck's a little dirty, but whatever. And then on the passenger floor here, I'll get out and I'll show you how I have it ran. So on the passenger side, you have a fuse box. There's an access panel with a little tab that you can pull out here. It is very easy, and you just pull back on it and pull it out. There's just two little tabs that hook it into these little things, so you just pull it outwards and then pull, and it'll come out. And then this piece right here will also come out. First thing you want to do is lift up on the floorboard right here. Just pull up straight up on it. That's going to disconnect, and then from there you can reach behind this panel and just pull it directly back, which is gonna pull this one out. I'm not gonna pull this one out. This one's a bit more of a pain in the butt just with the rubber and stuff. But yeah, so you have your wire run around here, from here all the way down, and then it goes in behind this box right here. And then you have your wiring. So you have your two wires, your red wire and your yellow wire. Your yellow wire is going to be for your constant voltage. The red is for whenever the vehicle starts up, your accessory wire. I have used two Adafuse plugins basically, where you can put two fuses into one piece. I can pull this one out, no problem. So this has two fuses. The front one is going to be for your factory fuse, so if anything happens on your accessory, any type of surging, it's just going to blow the back fuse and it's going to keep your factory fuse safe, so you can keep driving with no issues or needing to replace any spark plug, or not spark plugs, any fuses. And it's so simple. You just end up adding the wire in, crimping it down, and then putting in the two fuses you require. This one is obviously a 5 amp fuse, and like I said, this one is running your accessory, so anytime that the vehicle is put into accessory mode or you turn on the engine, this is what's going to activate your dash cam. And then the upper one that I'm running it off of is a 10 amp fuse, and it's the same thing. You just plug them in, put in the right fuses, plug it in, and you're good to go. So on the F-150, I'm using the accessory on a 5 amp, like I just said, on fuse location 35, and then for the constant voltage, running the 12.4 is what it reads on a voltage meter, on the multimeter. It's running 12.4 to 12.42 at all times. So I'm using position 32 for that one. I wanted to use this one up here, number 10. However, there's that green fuse. I'm not quite sure what the green thing is at the top there. I'm not playing around with it, but it bumps. You aren't able to plug in a plug-in add a fuse into these top two 10 amp ones, just because there's not enough headspace for the fuse to go in there. So like I said, I'm using 35 for the accessory and 32 for what's labeled as the battery or the constant wire on the F-150. And then right in front of this panel right here, there's a bolt that is already being used as a ground wire. The hardwire kit for the Thinkware has a pretty small little C-shape washer almost that you would screw it into the grounding location. I had to stretch it out a bit just to get it to wrap around the size of the bolt, because the bolt's actually pretty wide. But with a little bit of playing around, I was able to kind of stretch out that C-clip enough to slide it in there and add it in with the rest of the ground wires that are on that bolt. And then, yeah, you just put everything back in together. Make sure you got your weather stripping seal on the right side of your panel when you push everything back into place. Push this one back down. Make sure it's all engaged. This one doesn't have any weather stripping. The weather stripping is just on the outside of it around the door. This piece right here has nothing to do with it. It ends right about here anyways. So just leave it all tucked in. Makes it look nice and clean. And then make sure your fuses are both in. Okay, and another thing to note about these add fuses or a fuse holder, they go by either name, add-a-fuse or a fuse holder. These ones I bought off Amazon. I wasn't able to find any in Edmonton, Alberta at either Princess Auto, Canadian Tire, or Part Source. Part Source, all of these companies do carry them. However, they only carry the mini fuse size, not the micro 2. That's one word, micro, and then the number 2 right next to the O, no space. They don't carry the micro 2 fuses that the Ford uses. They are a little bit smaller than the minis. Deceptively, they almost look the very same. However, we're talking a couple of millimeters difference. So you need the micro 2 fuse holder or the add fuse accessories, and I was able to order them off Amazon at a fraction of the cost of what even Canadian Tire was selling the mini fuse holders for. Canadian Tire was selling them for $15 a piece. On Amazon, I was able to order a 5-pack for $15.99, so I have 3 extra kicking around if I ever need them, or if a friend ever asks me if they want to add something. I've got some extras laying around. Obviously I could sell them to them for a few bucks and just make my money back, no big deal there. The fuses themselves, the micro 2 fuses that I bought them on Amazon as well. It came in a pack of 2x2x2x2, so I think it was like 7.5, 2 7.5s, 2 5s, 2 10s, and 2 20s, I believe, were in the pack. And yeah, again, it's super cheap off Amazon to get the fuses and these fuse holders. Don't even bother trying to look around in your local stores for them. Obviously, everyone doesn't carry the micro 2. They only carry the mini, which used to be the standard, but everyone's kind of, at least Ford has gone down to these micro 2s now. And then, yeah, so your panel, this is super easy to put back in. The only piece I didn't take out is the one that's a bit more of a pain, and I don't want to risk breaking anything. I've taken it off twice now with no issues, but it's on pretty good, and the less I have to take this panel off, the better, obviously. So yeah, that just slides back in like that, and your fuses are all in place, and it's a nice clean install with only the wires showing right from the accessory up to the headliner, and then other than that, they are pretty well tucked in the whole way around. Like I said, the micro USB port cable is running around the headliner, and then just around the top of each of the pillars, and then through the window seals all the way to the back rear facing camera. And then the power is again just going up through the headliner and then down through the passenger side pillar on the outside by the rubber all the way down. Remove your panel box first, all the covers, and then just tuck everything in behind so you have access to all that. And obviously you can wrap them around the fuses, no problem. Those 2 fuse locations that I had stated, 35 and 32. But just for safety and peace of mind, if I ever had any type of a surge come off of this thing, I'm not going to blow my factory fuses. It's only going to short out the second fuse on those fuse holders so that there's absolutely no damage done to the vehicle, and it makes for a nice, easy, clean install. It looks professional, and as you can see, the Thinkware F800 Pro is flashing as it's in parking mode right now. I'm going to turn on the vehicle, and you can just hear what it says, and then what happens once the vehicle's turned off, and that's pretty much it. So that beep right there was because I slammed the door. I have the sensitivity on it pretty high, so if I even shake the vehicle sitting in it, it's gonna detect motion and it's gonna start a recording in parking mode, which is awesome. If it has any type of an impact on it or anything, it creates a separate file on the micro SD card in it where you can go into it and it'll say motion or impact, and you can go in and see exactly what occurred at those times. And once you turn it on, from me shaking like this, it's actually going to tell me how many events it captured while it was in parking mode as soon as you turn it on. So here we go.
During parking mode, motion detection record.
Okay, my phone was on Bluetooth when I turned on the vehicle, so it kicked out the video while I was turning on the vehicle, so I'm just gonna have to edit that in. Anyways, so here's me turning on the vehicle without Bluetooth on the phone on, so we can get through all this. So the vehicle's on accessory mode right now.
Continuous recording will now start. GPS connected.
So this thing has GPS in it.
On your smartphone, connect to a Wi-Fi network whose name starts with Thinkware.
This thing has a lot of tech built into it. It can sense when a vehicle in front of you is leaving, so that it gives you a little beep, so that if you're not paying attention, it'll kind of give you a nice little pleasant chime to say, hey, car in front of you started to go, look up. It'll let you know of any red light cameras in and around you. It'll give you even mobile alerts for if you had like an area that is known for photo radar. It'll say, hey, this is a mobile speed enforced zone, something along those lines. It will do everything. Lane departure warning. I think it even lets you know if there's a vehicle in front of you that's departing the lane. You can set the speed that you want it to notify you that at, and it's fairly high increments. I think it's like in kilometers an hour we're going to go with. It's like 60, 70, 80, or 100. And I have it at 100. I don't need to know if someone in the city is leaving the lane in front of me or whatever, so I have it just for highway, so 100 plus, it'll set that notification for me. The one thing that I will say is once you add your fuses in or you wire in your hard wiring kit and you turn this thing off and on, if it's not doing anything, it's not your wiring. Obviously you can check with a multimeter. Just turn it on to the proper setting that you need it to be on your multimeter to detect any type of voltage. Have your black touching a ground, and then just use your red prong on your multimeter to touch there's two little cutouts on the top of a fuse where you can put a prong or a probe to touch the actual metal fuse to see if it's carrying current or not. And like I said, the 32 fuse is carrying a constant current all the time, and the number 35 fuse that I used is only an accessory one. And I tested both of them with a multimeter, got the right meter readings, make sure that one actually had a constant voltage, because I did this a few times and I said, well, what the heck is going on? I've put them on constant voltages. Why is this thing not entering into parking mode? And it's because you actually have to enable parking mode through your mobile app. So when this thing just turned on, you heard it say connect to a Wi-Fi network starting with the name Thinkware. So once you turn this thing on your vehicle, set it up, go into the settings through the app on your phone and enable parking mode. If you don't enable parking mode, it's not going to start recording when you turn your vehicle off. And there's nothing wrong with your hard wiring. It's the fact that you haven't enabled the settings on your Thinkware in order to allow the parking mode recordings. And at that point, it's going to give you a few options, like a constant plus motion or just motion. and I have it on constant plus motion so that it's doing a constant recording, and also if it sees any motion in front or behind with the cameras. Now, I did purchase a Thinkware F800 from Best Buy here in Canada. However, when I got it home and I wired it in and I was looking at all the different settings on it, I decided that it wasn't the right Thinkware camera for what I needed it for. I needed one that's going to be able to capture a minimum of 8 hours of recording, especially through the nighttime when I have my trailer on this thing that's full of equipment when I'm going to different events and whatnot. And the F800, the model below this one, is marginally cheaper. I believe it's like $20 to $30 cheaper than the F800 Pro. However, the F800 Pro will accept the 128 gigabyte micro SD cards, whereas the F800 will only support a 64 gigabyte SD card. So if you have the front and rear cameras like I do, when you have the F800 and a 64 gig card, the maximum amount of recording time that that thing will give you is 4 hours. It'll give you 8 hours if you're only running one camera, but since you have two, it reduces that time in half. And likewise with the F800 Pro, if you only had one camera, you can get up to 16 hours of recording time before it will start to wipe everything. Or with two cameras, you get your full 8 hours, which is pretty much going to cover you and make sure that anything that occurred throughout an evening or when you're away from your vehicle is going to actually be captured where you can get it. Now, I mean, if someone goes to the work of stealing a trailer, breaking in, odds are they might end up breaking into your truck to take these things. So that's a bit of the only downside to this, but at the same time, that thing is going to capture everything, and if they're caught with it and they haven't erased the files and police or whatever are able to retrieve this thing and the SD card, I mean, it's pretty easy to throw away an SD card, but if in the off chance that they never took it or they didn't see that you had this in here, you might be able to actually capture what's happened on camera and give police a play-by-play video of what occurred that evening. And the night vision camera on these things is phenomenal. You're gonna get faces, and as long as they're not covered up, you're gonna see people, you're gonna see details on them. This camera is fantastic. If you are looking for a dash cam, I would highly recommend this F800 Pro. I've looked into them for quite a while now, and when I came upon the Thinkware one and all the features it has into it and the way that it sets up and everything about it is just exactly what I want in a camera. And you can record anything that's going on in the vehicle at the time just with a simple press of a button. I'm talking about audio here.
Voice recording disabled.
So now it'll just record video without any type of voice recording. Now, let's say you were to stop by the police, you don't feel like you've done anything wrong, you were driving the speed limit, you can have this thing embed your speed into your videos. So if you were pulled over for speeding and you have this thing embedded for speed, when you copy these files to your computer or whatever and you go to court with them, you're going to have a camera that's showing a GPS located speed, which is dead accurate with my digital sensor. I've taken a look for what it shows on my digital odometer on the F-150, and it is exactly the same as what this thing is recording. And you know, if you want to record those conversations, if you have a pullover happen and you just have it recording your driving without any audio, but you want to capture audio for that type of an interaction, just hit your
voice recording enabled.
That button, your mute or record button, and it's just got a little microphone on it. Just hit that and it's going to start capturing all voice audio that's occurring while this thing is capturing video. So that is, in my mind, in today's society, I mean, police have a tough job to do, but I have ran into enough police over my years that are willing to stretch, bend the truth just a little bit into their favor. And having something like this where you can record, you can show what occurred prior to being pulled over, you can record the entire interaction with those officers, which 95% of the time is going to be a very professional interaction. However, you may get that 5% of the time where you get some guy that thinks he's just the next, you know, top dog up the food chain and just has it out for you, and you can capture everything that you want on these things. Take it home, put it on your computer, and just wait for that court date. So these things are great. I highly recommend getting one. It will definitely give you a lot more peace of mind, and if you're looking for something that gives you more vehicle safety, I mean, my Lariat has a lot of features in it for the, you know, collision warnings, the lane departure warnings, all of that stuff is built into this thing. However, with this camera, if you don't have those, you can have all of those features. This thing does it all. It gives you the advanced collision warning system, ADWS, I believe is the acronym for it, Advanced Driver Warning System, or Advanced Collision Warning, ACWS, one of the two. Lane departure lets you know if there's a vehicle leaving in front of you. Like I said, this thing is full of features, so I would highly recommend looking at it and checking out the F800 or the F800 Pro if you're wanting a full 8 hours of recording time and want a camera that has a lot of features, that is easy to use, easy to set up, and once it's in, you don't have to really think about much. Now, all the voice warnings and stuff that this thing does can get annoying. You can turn them all off. It is a very good dash cam to have in your vehicle. So yeah, that is kind of my install on a 2015 F-150, my somewhat brief review on the camera itself, and I hope anyone that's looking at installing this on a 2015 F-150 found this useful, helpful, especially with the fuse locations, the type of fuse holders that you need, all that type of stuff. I didn't find a lot of information online about it, that's why I'm doing this. It was basically a week of me figuring out where to get the parts I needed and what I needed. No one seemed to know what type of fuses this vehicle needed at any of the parts stores that I went to. I already named them off. So like I said, you need a micro 2 fuse, and the micro 2 fuse holders to do this. You don't absolutely need those. However, if you want to have it as a nice clean install where you're not just wrapping bare wires around one prong of your fuse, get a fuse holder, crimp it in, no worries. It's not going to disconnect, it's not going to shake out, it's in there perfectly. And just run your wires along your headliner and around the top of your pillars or down to it, and you're going to be good to go. Thanks for watching. This is Nick with Infinite Loop Technical Solutions. We hope you found this video useful. Subscribe to our channel if you liked this video, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. And if you have any questions, comments, drop me a line and I will try to answer any of the questions that you have. Take care.